So here's the dilemma. So markets are getting less predictable, and we've seen a lot of volatility, especially over the last 4 years with the pandemic and the wars, and the election. Interest rates going, to all-time lows and then to all-time highs, and then now lowering interest rates again. So usually the place people hide their money when they're scared of the uncertainty of the market, they usually go into bonds or fixed income. And that's normally historically a good place to hide, but during the last 10 years with all the volatility we've had, it's not necessarily a safe haven. We saw that in 2020, also 2015 and 2022, where the stock market and the bond market both went down simultaneously. So this shows as a chart to show you what the expectations of the next 10 years, next decade of yield from the bond market is attributed to what the yield was at the beginning of the decade. So it's within 1 to 3% of that number. So based on that history, we could only expect a 3% average return over the next 10 years from the bond market. There's 73 million baby boomers that have reached retirement, or that will reach retirement in the next 7 years. So there's going to be a lot of strain, a lot of people retiring at the same time, and pulling their money out of the market, and looking at safe havens, typically CDs, right? We all know that CDs are safe because they're FDIC insured. But with the average yield on a CD versus what you can take from an annuity, you would need 5 times the amount of money to get that same yield. So I'm not saying to put all of your money, never put all your money into any one particular basket or investment, but annuities are a great way to diversify and guarantee income in retirement. And this is basically what I just talked about. I'm going to skip a few slides. There's a lot of them in here, you guys. Okay, so let's get to the basics just of annuities. I know some of you already know this, and some of you, don't know what an annuity is. So I'll try to keep it in the middle. So an annuity is basically a contract between an insurance company and an investor. That's all it is. The word annuity has gotten a lot of bad press, and there's a negative connotation with the word. There is annuities out there that are not right for certain investors, and there was, some negatives with annuities, especially when you could have had hindsight where you could invest in the market and be getting a 12 or 13% annualized rate of return. Everyone that had annuities in 2008 and 9 were extremely happy because their money was protected. So it means, as long as we get to the basic definition of it and everyone understands, it's just a contract between the insurance company and a person. Annuities allow you to take income stream over a certain period that's guaranteed, and sometimes that period is for life. They also are similar to CDs in the fact that the principal is usually guaranteed by the insurance carrier. So as long as that insurance carrier is going to still be in business, your money is safe. As opposed to CDs, which are FDIC insured by the federal government. But similar as their risk profiles are relatively safe. We discussed that this is what, so who offers annuities is insurance companies for investment. But there's also different, annuity really is just an income stream over a certain period of time. So one of the examples I like to give is, I don't know if anybody watches America's Got Talent, but the prize is $1 million. Well, if you actually pause the screen and look at the fine print, it's actually really not $1 million that they're getting. They're getting an annuity stream that adds up to $1 million over 40 years. So they're actually getting $25,000 a year for 40 years. And they call that $1 million, even though, the present value of it would be a lot less than that. Just another example of an annuity. But for investment purposes, we're looking at really just variable annuities. There's indexed annuities and there's fixed annuities. Fixed annuities are most similar to CDs, where they're not tied to the stock market and they just guarantee a fixed rate of return. So right now, for example, fixed annuities are paying about 4.5 to 5% over a 5-year period per year. Um, I'll go over the details of each kind of those too in a little bit. Here's some examples of the insurance carriers or companies that offer annuities. There's obviously much more than this, but they're just companies that you might recognize. Um, and you don't have to go directly to these companies either. So if you went to someone like myself as an independent broker, I have access to any annuity company. If you're, with like an investment firm like Morgan Stanley or Fidelity, they may have like 10 to 15 annuities that they offer. But my advice is to definitely shop around and make sure you get the best rate, or have someone like me do the shopping for you. Most annuities are purchased by people over the age of 50. So this is showing 53% of them are purchased over the age of 50. That doesn't mean uh, there's age limits. Usually the youngest is typically around 40, 45 years old. And the oldest is usually 80 years old that you're able to purchase one. The sweet spot where you get the best yield for your investment, in my opinion, is between ages of 50 and 65. Sometimes between 65 and 70, there might be annuity companies that offer the highest rates. So take that in mind. But everyone's going to be different depending on their, investment circumstances and when they retire, how long they worked, etc. So tax deferral is one of the advantages of an annuity. However, you can still purchase annuities using your retirement funds, which, your 457s and your 403Bs and 401Ks are tax deferred already. So the advantage of using it in a retirement account would be for the guaranteed income stream and the minimizing your downside risk and maximizing your upside risk. But really, it's for that retirement, for the income that's guaranteed for life, so you can supplement your Social Security and any pensions that you may have. If you did buy an annuity outside of a retirement plan, that it would be tax deferred just like a retirement account, but you'd also have to live within those rules, those IRS guidelines. So you'd have to wait till after 59 and a half to start taking out money. I talked about this, all the benefits of tax deferral and guaranteeing an income stream. Please stop me if I'm going too fast, everybody. So here's the structure of an annuity. I just wanted to show you kind of like the inner workings of a clock where you can see the gears and how it works. So not to overcomplicate it, what happens is all these different investors are buying annuities from the same insurance company. So let's say MetLife, sold $100 million of annuities of people all ages, 50 to 79 years old. They are taking an average, and that's how they can afford to pay a little bit higher rates than most other, comparable bonds or fixed income products, because there's a certainty that some people are going to live to 100, 105, and some people are going to die, prematurely. And so the arithmetic average there allows the annuity company to make money, but also to pay out a lot higher rates to investors. We kind of talked about this. So with an annuity, there's the actual annuitant, the annuity company, and then the beneficiary. And those could be different. So you can have an annuity that is owned, let's say, by your trust or by your retirement plan. And you can, in fact, you could actually even purchase an annuity and give it to a charity or a charitable remainder trust and have yourself as the beneficiary to where you're receiving the income stream. There's a lot of different avenues you could explore from a tax and estate and wealth management planning strategy. So I'm happy to talk one-offs with anybody if anyone has any questions about that. All right, so these are the different types of annuities. Single premium deferred annuity is probably what most people think of as an annuity, which is you give a lump sum, invest a lump sum of money up front. So let's say you put $100,000 in, and then you wait to take income. Let's say you wait 10 years from now, that 100,000 would be guaranteed on an income basis to double. So it'd go to 200,000. And if the rate of return was 5%, that was guaranteed for life, then that would pay a $10,000 a year for the rest of your life. Even though you only invested 100,000, obviously if you take that 10,000 a year for 20 years, you've already got 200,000 out of it. If you live 40 years, you've gotten $400,000 that you've squeezed out of that initial $100,000 premium. Then there's immediate annuities, which is similar concept, except you want to, let's say CDs, right? Let's say you need 7% from your portfolio and you could live on that for the rest of your life. Well, the highest rate you can get right now, let's say, is 4% on a non-annuity investment. Immediate annuities will pay out a much higher rate, but they're going to be guaranteed either for life or for 5 years or 10 years or some sort of period certain. But for an example, let's say it depends on your age too. So a 75-year-old buying an immediate annuity today would get a distribution yield of about 8% per year for the rest of their lives. So they are paying out a lot higher rates, but there's also a risk that you don't get to maximize that benefit because of your death. It's also important with annuities, just like retirement accounts, to make sure that you have your beneficiaries listed, because there is a death benefit, and that death benefit can be paid out. In the case of a retirement account, it would get paid to your retirement account, and then it would go to your beneficiaries listed. If it was outside a retirement account, you could actually have the death benefit get paid directly to your heirs or your estate. Okay, this is talking about how you can designate the owner of your annuity to be a charity if you needed a charitable tax deduction, let's say, if you're in a high income bracket. Or if you're planning to give that money to charity anyway, instead of giving a one lump sum at your death, you can actually give to charity now, get it out of your estate, not pay taxes on that money, but have the income stream come right back to you as the beneficiary of the annuity. So you can collect that income stream for the rest of your life while still getting that tax benefit and allowing the charity to be using your funds at the same time. This will show just the distribution options. To oversimplify it, it's just, do you want your money now or do you want to start taking it later? If you take it later, typically the annuity will give you some sort of guaranteed step up on your income. And the average is about to double the amount of your original investment in the first 10 to 12 years. That's typically the average. You could find, annuity companies that are slightly more aggressive and a little bit more conservative as well. And so how much money should you have in an annuity is a really good question. So like I said at the beginning, I don't think anyone should invest all of their money in any one thing, especially not as you're approaching retirement. You want more certainty. A good rule of thumb is 30% or a third. So you should never have more than a third of your liquid net worth or your retirement assets in annuities in general. I like to use 30%, but a third is a good barometer. So if you were going to pick two different annuity companies, you would do 10 to 15% in each one. And this is comparing it to retirement plans. So corporate sponsored plans, defined contribution plans like 401ks, and similarly the 457 and 403bs that you all, I'm sure, are utilizing for your retirement are all tax deferred like an annuity is, but they also allow, especially after you retire and roll over your retirement fund into an IRA, then you'll be allowed to invest in annuities inside the IRA rollover plan. So yeah, annuities aren't the best for every particular investor. Someone that's 35 years old that wants to take a lot of risk and has a lot of time before retirement, they shouldn't be locking in anything now. They should be, prepared to do that in 20 years, but they should be taking, indexed like market risk. Annuities are good for people that want to guarantee a certain income stream in retirement and don't want to take the risk of the market. And there's also somewhere in between there, which is someone that wants to take the upside or appreciation of the stock market, but doesn't want to lose all their money in case they're wrong, in case the market, doesn't go up the next 3 years in a row. You could actually have the best of both worlds with a variable annuity, where you could guarantee an income stream, let's say of 5, 6, 7% for life, but also invest in the stock market. Those ones are typically higher fees, and that on television commercials and ads in the newspaper where they're telling you how annuities are such high cost. That's the variable annuity space, but you also get what you paid for. So, if the market's up 40%, the annuity might be up 38% or 35%, but that's still a lot better than the guaranteed 6 or 7%. So yeah, so summarize up that the annuities in general are, they're long-term investment vehicles, but that doesn't mean you're not benefiting or taking the benefits or getting the income stream before, let's say it's a 25, 20, 30-year investment time horizon. We could defer the annuity 5 years and you could start taking income for the last 25, 30 years. Also, the death benefits on annuities, sometimes they even have a ratchet up or guaranteed increase or step up in death benefit. So the best thing to do is, if you're considering investing in an annuity, just to talk to somebody like myself and kind of tell them what you're trying to do. If you're maximizing income, or you want to take advantage of the stock market if it goes up, or you just want to have a fixed rate of return like a CD, and they could shop around and find the best annuity for you. There are variable indexed annuities, or I'm sorry, fixed indexed annuities, which is a hybrid that don't have any fees, but the most you can make on those is they usually cap them at about 9 or 10% per year, and the income streams are like 4.5 to 5%. So there's everywhere in between, but it's important just to know your individual investment experience and what you're trying to get out of it, so we can customize a plan. This is showing that portfolios that have a variable annuity, this is the one I discussed earlier that has unlimited upside. You can invest in the market, but has a little bit higher fees. The probability of failure is much lower when you have an annuity in your portfolio. And it's a lot lower even then still if you take income 5 years after, a minimum of 5 years after you invest in the annuity. So anyone with 5 years or more before they need to start taking income, it's a good time to start looking at annuities. And this just shows an example of that. So someone with $100,000 or $500,000 portfolio, if they took 20%, which is that middle column there, and invested in an annuity, it's showing that you would have to take only 3.8% of your portfolio value out per year to achieve that $20,000 of income, and even less if you did 30% into the annuity. All right, I got through all of my slides. I know everybody has questions, I hope I can answer them. One thing I forgot to mention specifically is that required minimum distributions, so RMDs. Typically, you have to start taking those when you're 72 years old. There was a change in the law that went into effect in 2022. So if you turn 72 after 2022, then you could wait until 73 is when you have to start taking your distributions from your retirement plans. And most, if not all, annuities, well, you should never invest in an annuity unless it's RMD friendly, is what they call it, which means that regardless of the amount of time that you committed to the annuity, you're allowed to take your required minimum distribution penalty free, no matter what the contract says. So that's important, just in case your required minimum distributions exceed the value of the guarantee on the annuity, they still allow you to take the money out without a penalty. So no one should be afraid to use annuities, even if you're going into the RMD phase of your distribution on your retirement account. So, all right, I've done enough talking at one time. Let's see if anyone has any questions.
I have a question.
Great.
Is this how you want us just to speak up?
Yeah, that'd be great. Is it
Okay.
Christine?
So early on in the presentation, you said that the best yield annuities seem to be lined up with people that are 50 to 65 years old. And I didn't really understand that given everything else you said. It seemed like the annuity type really influenced the yield and the length of time. I didn't understand why it's linked to age.
Yeah, that's a great question. No, thank you. Let me clarify. So the best time, yeah, in my opinion, is between 50 and 65 for variable annuities, if you're going to defer your income and wait. So it's hard for me to speak about annuities in general with those ages, but variable annuities, 50 to 65 typically, and you'll find some outliers too, maybe it's 55 to 69. But on immediate annuities, and fixed annuities, the older you are, the higher the rate is that they'll guarantee. If you're taking the income now. If you're waiting, ages 50 to 65 is a good time to start because you have that runway. Because, let's say you're 62, you could definitely wait 10 years before you start taking the money out. So you give it time to grow and the income would double. So even though at age 62, let's say the guaranteed income is 5%, but at age 72, the guaranteed income is 6%. If you invest at age 62 and wait till 72, you're going to actually get, not only are you getting 6% when you hit 72, but your money that you put in at age 62 is the value on that income stream is doubled. So you're actually getting 10% per year of your original investment amount, if that makes sense. I know it's complicated.
Yeah, well, it makes me wonder, I think I'm doing something wrong. I thought I had it. So what you haven't talked about is annuities that are only like, they have a window of maybe 2 years or 3 years. You don't take anything out. You just have a guaranteed income for a couple of years. And I actually bought one of those before the market went down because I was nervous about the stock market.
Yeah, of course.
But we didn't talk about an annuity that's only good for a couple of years. And frankly, at the time I did it, some people said I made a mistake because the return was like 2%.
Oh, wow.
But the market crashed.
Yeah.
And it just sat there and I didn't lose any value.
That's good. That's great. So your actual return is much higher.
Is that, I feel like listening to you, that's not the best type of annuity that I should be.
Yeah, probably not. I mean, I can't give you specific advice without knowing more about you.
Right, but I mean, it's like 2 years. I'm locked in for 2 years. I don't take any disbursements. I just get the guaranteed whatever it is, and it's the one I'm in now is 4%.
It's 4%. And then what
Yeah.
happens after 2 years?
I either take it out or I could put it in another annuity, or I could do whatever I want with it, but it's just
Okay.
weird little 2-year window, which you didn't really talk about those. So,
Yeah, I haven't heard of 2-year. I've heard of 3-year.
oh, well,
and
you know what? It might be 3.
Okay.
It might be 3.
Okay.
Yeah.
That was good that you did a short period because you could reinvest it. Was that 2 years ago or is that coming up due soon?
It's I got another year on it
Okay.
or so.
Yeah, if you want me to look at it, there's on your statement, it'll tell you your surrender value. So you want to compare that to what the actual value would be in a year and see if it makes sense you could do something called a 1035 exchange, kind of like real estate with a 1031 exchange. You can move, if you sell a piece of real estate for $1 million, as long as you put that $1 million or more back into another piece of real estate, you don't have to pay the taxes on the original gains. Same thing with annuities. It's called a 1035 exchange, and you just move it forward into another annuity product, and there's no taxes on any of the gains. You're still deferring those. So that's something you should look into.
Right, because some of these other ones you described sound like they're better. Since I'm still in my sixties, I should
Yeah,
be looking a little bit longer horizon and I can make more. It sounds
yes, I
like,
would.
okay,
Probably I would look at something like a fixed indexed annuity, which is they don't have any fees and they usually guarantee like a 2 or 3% interest rate, but or the stock market up to like a 10% per year. So you can make anywhere between 3 and 10% every year without any fees. Those ones have been becoming more popular over the last 3, 4, 5 years. And so there's a lot of competition in that space, which is good for us, the consumer,
okay.
right? We're getting better rates. So I would take a
Is
look
that
at
like
that.
over 10 years or something? Or,
Yeah, you could actually get them for 5, but the standard is like 7 to 10 years. Um, but remember, you don't have to put all of it in there either, too. Maybe you put half in something like that, and then half in something that's paying you 5 or 6%, income when you retire.
got it,
And then, there's a lot of customization you could do with it.
okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
Okay, Nick, let's move 1 decade ahead in the 70s.
Okay.
I would like you to show us on maybe a concrete example of what the RMD should look like. Is it still obligation to take out a certain amount every year? And how do you calculate it? You mentioned 3.8% of the whole amount of money that you have. In my case, at the bank, it's an IRA account. How does that compare to what you were talking about?
Yeah, no, that's a great question. Can you guys see me still? I don't know if
Yes, we can see you.
okay. Okay, great. So yeah, RMDs are based off of an actuary table that the IRS uses, and they give you a number, and you divide that by the value of your account on December 31st of the previous year before you start taking RMDs. So let's just say the number usually is like between 24 and 27-ish, and that basically comes out to 3.5, 4%. So let's just say, let me just do the math here really quick. 100,000 divided by 27 is $3,703. So that would be the RMD for someone that just turned 72 or 73, which is 3.7%. So and it increases every year. So it'll go from 3.7% in my example to, let's say, 3.8 or 3.9 or 4%, when you're 74, 75, 76 years old. And so let's just use 4% as the number. If you had $1 million in your retirement accounts collectively, you would have to take out $40,000 a year would be your required minimum distribution.
Wishful thinking.
Yeah, there we go. I like it. Maybe let's make it 2 million then. 80,000 a year. So
And
let's just say,
in terms of a couple, it's a joint income that you're calculating, right?
yes, it'd be slightly lower with joint. So it'd be maybe 3.5%.
Okay.
And then so let's tie that into the RMD friendliness of annuities. So let's say we just did that calculation on $1 million. You had $1 million at the end of last year. Now the IRS is requiring you to take $40,000 a year out of your retirement accounts. Well, if you owned an annuity that was guaranteeing you $20,000 a year, you could, if the annuity was RMD friendly, which is, you should check on your statement if you have one already or before you purchase one to make sure that it is. The annuity will allow you to take the whole $40,000 out without causing any penalties or disturbances to your guarantees. So it's really important to have the RMD friendly language in the annuity contract before you buy one. Depending on your age. I guess if you're 50, it doesn't matter. But
Do you discuss that with the bank or with an expert like yourself?
What was the first part of your question, Christine?
Do you negotiate the RMDs with the bank where you have your money and they are paying about 5.3% interest? Or do I need to resort to somebody as knowledgeable as you are?
Yeah, so I would recommend talking to someone like me, but the people at the bank we'll give you the information. It's not really a negotiation. It's just to make sure that that annuity is RMD friendly. So I would just ask, whoever your trusted advisor is, or the bank or brokerage, just add that language, ask that question, is the annuity RMD friendly? And then they'll explain it. It's 90% of the time the answer is yes. So just a little safety
Just
precaution.
in case, maybe it would be nice to have your contact information, or does Vanya have?
Yeah, of course. Yeah, and I'm here as a resource, so I'm not selling annuities, but I have access to the information. And if you wanted to, I could obviously do it for you and be happy to, but just want to let you know that I'm here as Ryan and my team are here for you guys. If you have questions as you approach retirement, any questions about investing, insurance, annuities, long-term care, we're retirement planning specialists. So I'll be happy to share my contact information with everybody. See if I can put that on the screen. There's my email address. Let's see if I can put my phone number on there. Vanya, do you have my contact info?
Yes, and I can share it with everyone after
Oh,
this
great.
meeting. Also, I can share it. Would you prefer or like for me to share it once the recording of the event goes out to everyone? That way they can have it directly there too.
Yeah, that would be great. Absolutely.
Okay, and then we can see your emails right now, just so you know.
Good. Okay. Here, I was gonna put my information right here. I don't know if anybody can read that or not. But is that too small?
Very small, yeah.
Okay. Let's see. But yeah, Vanya will send it out. I was just trying to be helpful. These are all really good questions, everybody. What other questions do you have?
I could ask another.
Okay.
So when the RMDs started, I guess for me it'd be 73. So if I'm understanding you correctly, you're suggesting that would be the time to pull the money out of the stock market, right? I've got it in my retirement accounts. The rest of it's invested. And so when I have to start pulling it out, I guess what I'm hearing is one good strategy is to put it into one of these different kind of RMDs that are friendly
Mhm.
that you talked about. Probably not the variable annuity, because that was for the younger people.
Right.
But probably we should get one of these other ones that would allow us, I guess, to sort of get an allowance from it.
Exactly. That was a good word, Kathy. Yeah, allowance. That's a lot of my clients use that terminology. And what they do is like they'll, set up their retirement. I'm their advisor, so I'm looking at all their accounts, and let's say 20 or 30% of their retirement is annuities. The other part of it, I'm still generating an income stream and satisfying their RMDs, but if you're going to live off that, you should probably have a little bit more of a distribution monthly than just the minimum distribution. So
Right, so we'd have to make that decision, but let's say we're lucky enough, because most of us, I think, on this call, retired with a pension.
mhm,
It's amazing, and helpful. And let's just say, for purposes of discussion, let's say you didn't need the money from the RMDs, but you're forced to take it. I have been worried about it floating around and then huge amounts of taxes hitting me each year when you pull a
mhm.
big chunk out. And so this is a way to, sounds like, protect yourself from taxes, because if it's RMD friendly, then we move it from where it is in the retirement account into the RMD. And so the taxes continue to be deferred, right? And so it's only that, like, I'm going to use the word allowance again, if I'm understanding this. It goes into the RMD and then I start getting monthly allotments. Is that, if I set this up right, how this works?
Kind of. So the tax deferral is on all the gains on the entire account, but you can't avoid the whole like spirit behind the RMD process with the IRS is because the IRS wants their money. They want their tax money. They don't want someone to, you know, die with millions of dollars in their retirement account. They want you to spend it so they can tax it. So
Okay,
that minimum distribution every year is taxable no matter what. That's how the IRS always
okay,
does.
so then that raises another question. If they're
Sure.
gonna tax the RMD and then I put it into annuity, which grows, which will be taxed again when I pull it out of there, because it says it's tax deferred until you withdraw it, but I will have already paid taxes on it. So if in other words, if you pay, let's say it's a $50,000 RMD, let's just say, you put it in, it grows to 60, you pull it out, don't you get taxed on 60? And you've already paid
Okay,
tax
so I
on
see where,
50?
yeah, so it's just I gotta define the definitions. So RMD just stands for required minimum distribution, which is what the IRS requires you take out after you turn 72 or 73.
Mhm.
So I don't know where we're lost in translation here somewhere. The money that goes into an annuity, typically in a non-retirement account, let's just say you had $100,000 in your savings account at San Diego County Credit Union. You could take that money and put it into an annuity, and over, let's say 10 years from now, that 100,000 turns into $200,000. Then when you go to pull the money out, only half of it, the 100,000 you initially put in is not taxed, but the 100,000 that is the gains will be taxed as you withdraw it.
Oh, so it's tracked or tagged or flagged. The money that
Exactly.
goes in has got a flag on it that says you've
Yeah.
already paid taxes. Is that what it is?
Yes. Yes.
Oh.
And actually, that brings up another really good point. So Lincoln, I know Lincoln Financial, the insurance company, they offer annuities that allow you to mix the cost basis and the gains with a certain formula. So when you withdraw the money, and let's say my example, the 100,000 turns into 200,000. Well, typically the 100,000 in profit comes out first. So if you were taking, if you withdrew $125,000, you'd pay taxes on the first 100,000, and then the next 25,000 is your initial money that you invested, so you don't have to pay taxes on that. Lincoln offers a hybrid where, let's say you were taking $10,000 out a year or a month, they like 50% of it could be taxable and 50% could be tax-free as a return of your capital. So there's a lot of exotic features and that you could do both on the initial investment into an annuity and also on the distribution methods. So it's important that you have a meeting with your advisor or to put some thought into it before making the investment, because it is something that's arguably one of the most important financial decisions is right when to retire and how much income do you need, and if you
Right,
retire safely.
right.
So it's important to put some time and effort into that, and don't be afraid to ask multiple people. I like to think of it as like a doctor, right? If I have a primary care physician, but then if I need spinal surgery on my neck, I go to a specialist, right? And I do go to UCSD, by the way, everybody.
Smart
Um,
man.
Nick, I don't know if you can see it, but Barbara Brody has been.
Yes, I see the hand up. Okay,
Oh,
Barbara.
sorry.
Thank you. Thank you so much for this excellent presentation.
Okay, no problem.
Probably the most comprehensive that I've heard on annuities. So thank you.
Thanks, Barbara.
I'm not an expert by any stretch of the imagination. Clearly, the best thing is to sit down with an expert like yourself or someone or several to find out about all of this. But is there anything in writing, sort of a summary that you could identify? I mean, you've had some good slides for us, but is there anything in writing that might give us a sense of what questions to ask or what, there's so many things to think about here. In
Yeah,
keeping it straight.
that's a good question. I don't have anything pre-made that I know of, but I can put something together with questions to ask. Or I'm happy to have a quick a 5-minute or 10-minute, one-on-one session with anybody if you want to schedule something with me,
Nick,
yes.
Nick, what about a QLAC? People have been talking to me about a QLAC because I'm getting ready next year to take the RMDs.
Okay.
And so they're suggesting this QLAC in order to put off taxes.
Are you saying QLAC?
Yeah, it's a qualified,
Well,
I can't remember what it
it's
stands
like,
for.
it's called like I think it's a qualified longevity annuity
Right,
contract.
longevity. Yeah, longevity.
Yeah, that, so somebody's recommending that you do that? No?
Yeah, actually somebody in Fidelity.
Oh,
Yeah.
do you know is it a Fidelity annuity contract?
I think it would be, I think that they hold them, whether it's actually Fidelity, they have access to them in the same way they have access to, all the accounts.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, so a QLAC is a relatively new thing. Basically, the benefit of it is that you don't have to take your RMDs until 85, but they still, the IRS still gets their money. So basically, no matter how you cut any annuity, the IRS is going to get their money on the taxes. I mean, yeah, on the distributions, but it's just a matter of how they get it and when they get it. So that's good if you don't need your RMD, or it's relatively low. It's also limited to a maximum of $200,000 from my understanding of the QLAC. So if your 403B or 457 is lower than 200,000, that's something you should look into. If it's greater than that, I think that's limited to that and again, these laws just came out when the Secure 2.0 Act was finalized in 2022. So it's been less than 2 years with the protracted RMD ages and this longevity annuity contract. But I could definitely look more into it. If you have more questions, I'm happy to answer them by email or if you want to talk about specifics.
Okay, thank you. I think I will email you.
Okay. But yeah,
Thank you.
Fidelity is a great company, by the way. I love Fidelity. I think Vanguard, Fidelity, Schwab. We use Wells Fargo as our custodian for assets, but yeah, those are all great companies to deal with. And if you went to like your financial advisor or your broker or an independent broker like myself or Ryan, we could still get the Fidelity or Vanguard or Merrill Lynch or Morgan Stanley. Any of those companies can still be invested in your IRA rollover or any of your retirement accounts, just so you know. You don't have to go directly to those companies. These are all really good questions. I'm impressed. Hopefully, the information I provided was helpful, at least starts getting the brain going and thinking about these kind of things.
Yes, thank you. Very helpful.
Indeed.
Thank you so much, Nick. We
Oh, yeah, you're
appreciate
welcome.
this.
Yeah, thanks for the opportunity to talk to you guys. Let me know if anyone has any questions. I seriously don't mind, either staying for a few more minutes or feel free to email me or text me or call me.
Thank you.
That would almost be a case-to-case scenario, no? Because all situations, from what I'm hearing, are very different, no?
Yes.
And it's a lot of information that you're providing. So, thank you, Nick.
So yeah, the good news is that artificial intelligence is going to take a while before they take over my job completely.
And having said that, how do you get paid? Do you get percentages out of the?
Yeah, usually we typically charge clients not on annuities, but on just managing people's assets. So usually it's somewhere between like 0.5% and 1% on an annual basis. But annuity companies pay us directly. And what we've did is level the playing field. So all the annuity companies pay us the same amount of commission for getting somebody into it. So we're product agnostic. However, the different annuities pay different amounts of commission. And typically, the longer the lockup period, so if you have to keep it in there for 10 years, that usually the insurance company pays a bigger commission to the broker. And if it's shorter term, like 1, 2, 3 years, or whatever the case may be, it's usually a smaller amount. But yeah, you don't, when you buy an annuity, the insurance company pays the commission to the broker. And you're not paying anything on an annual basis or on a per trade basis anymore.
Yeah, I think I'll have to change my job. From being a
Yeah.
historian, I will apply to be a broker.
All right, you can teach me about history and I'll be the historian. We could work swap for the month.
Well, thank you so much for joining us, everyone. I'll go ahead and end the meeting and send you, once the recording is completed, Nick's email information and his other contact information here as well. Thank you.
Awesome.
Thank
Thanks,
you.
Vanya. Thanks, Christine.
Bye,
Nice to meet everybody.
everybody.